So I'm hoping that you all know that some shifts have happened in my responsibilities that started this fall. We have expanded the work I was doing from working with the very targeted population of those related with the university to a much broader look at the young adult community. And in my mind, there's a lot of sort of qualifiers that help us look at who a young adult is. But I primarily look at it as those aged 20 to 35. And in those first few years of making some big life transitions kind of for the first time. So people who are out of college now and really trying to like establish a friendship network for the first time. Those looking for their first job or in that discernment about really where they're trying to go in their work world and share their gifts. Those beginning some of the significant relationships of their life. Those paying their own bills for the first time and managing their money and trying to figure out how to make it in the world. Those kinds of transitions that I think we often face at multiple times throughout our life, but for these folks, it's really that first time that they're trying to hold all those balls in the air by themselves. And I do mean by themselves. I think one of the big challenges that young adults these days face is that they feel very lonely and isolated in these struggles. And they may have been part of strong networks of supports and communities, whether it was at college or in their hometown or even if it was in high school. But making the moves that we do these days about traveling around the world or traveling to other places in the country to work often means that they're uprooted from anything that has provided support for them before. And they really don't know how to navigate that area and that time very well. And I feel like a faith community is one of the most formidable places for someone at this time in their life to gain support and kind of a family. We have this wonderful intergenerational mix of people and gifts, and we have a worldview that supports someone that has a lot of questions, that's doing a lot of discerning, and seeks the support and accompaniment of God in all that they do. And you know, as many of us know, and I learned in our college ministry times, if folks, even if they have been active in church life or are spiritual people, they probably didn't pay much attention or do much nurturing to that during their college years. And so it's a time when one of their big transitions too is figuring out what does it mean to be a spiritual person. Sure, I learned this or my family practiced these things, but now it's my time to claim it for myself. And what's gonna help me, what's gonna sustain me in this new time that I'm establishing that will last me for the decades of my life to come. So it's a really critical time to help young folks know what it means to be part of a faith community. You know, you can't just walk in the door here and be like, flourish in community life. It actually takes a little bit of practice and a little bit of experience of what does it mean to be in a community where I'm being asked to give of my gifts and where I'm also being able to know what it is that I need personally and to ask for that, whether it's support for prayer or for growth programs. And so that takes time to learn. And I feel like that's one of my biggest jobs is helping folks understand what it means to be part of a faith community. And this is so integral when we look to the longevity of the church and our belief that we have an essential role in the world is that we really teach people the importance of faith community and give them that practice and that experience. I feel like one of the largest challenges in this kind of work is that young folks don't ever think they're gonna stay somewhere for very long. And so alongside that, there's a belief that, you know, it's hard to make a commitment to anything or to anyone if they're in this exploratory phase, because growing roots doesn't feel like the thing to do when you're in your 20s. You're still figuring out stuff in the world. And that's what I have found is that young adults don't think they have much to contribute here because they think, oh, in 6 months or a year, I'm not gonna be here, so why should I get too involved? And that's the myth I'm trying to break, that even if they are gonna be gone in a year, there's something really valuable about what they have to contribute to community life here today. And part of that is because the life of faith community and the life of church goes way beyond these walls. So even if they go somewhere else, they've created a really amazing foundation for other people who will come through this place, and they've created a foundation for how they can be part of a faith community somewhere else that they go, based on what they've experienced here. And that's the myth I feel like I confront every day in what I'm doing, is helping folks see that there's a place for them to grow some roots here, and that there's a way to be involved, and that there's a need for their voice and for their ideas. We also talk a lot here about like the church of the future. It's our vision for the next 5 to 10 years. And if we don't have people at the table and sharing their experiences, their perspectives, and their way of living in today's world and helping us shape our vision, I'm not sure we can do a very good job, because those are the people that are going to be the heart of a faith community in 10 years. And they need to be part of the conversation as well. And so creating a place where their voice is both welcomed and heard and utilized in the conversation is also really essential. So I've just been, I don't know, maybe hopefully you can tell in everything I've said, I'm really excited about our shift to this population. It makes so much sense. Part of why, one of the many reasons it makes so much sense is that we have a huge young adult community associated to FCCB. Campus ministry is in itself a really important mission and something we were reaching out to the community to do well. But I have totally noticed the shift when we pay attention to folks who have already expressed an interest about being here, and what can we do to help them more feel part of this community. You know, I started off this work this fall with 100 young adults who have had some connection to this church in the last year. And so far, since the end of August, we've had 55, I think, young adults come and participate in some part of our community life, some of the programs that we've offered. We definitely have a strong core, and then there's it's kind of this puzzle of figuring out how is it that we find ways for them to be moving in and out of this community, contributing and feeling a part of what the life is here. And so it's definitely a continual challenge to figure out how to do that. One of the things I really hope that we can do is create a small group ministry for young adults, because I think a big part of why we see less action in the community here is that actually coming to Berkeley regularly is a little bit tough for some of them. We have folks as far as San Leandro and Pinole, and sort of everything in between, and working really long hours and having a hard time getting here early on a Sunday morning perhaps. So it's really looking at how can we create communities of faith for them that might not actually be gathered in this building, but feel so totally connected to this community. And whether those are like location-based or interest-based, I feel like young adults are also across the spectrum on how they'd like to grow. Do they want to do a book study together? Do they want to learn some spiritual practices together? And so would a small group be focused on those activities of interest and by location would be really important. I'm also really looking to find more ways to continue intergenerational relationships. Many young adults also say to me, like, well, I love meeting with my peers, but part of why I come to this church is that I want to meet people of other ages and like gain their wisdom. And so figuring out the ways to do that best is one of the things that I've been working on as well. And I love that that's a cornerstone of what we're doing with the young adult ministry. And not necessarily setting up mentoring relationships, but building those relationships so that there is some mentoring that happens in the casual exchanges we have in community life. Have I taken up my 5 minutes? So, okay. So that's all I will say for now, but hopefully we'll talk some more in a little bit. Thanks.